Hello and welcome to the Big Bang Theory podcast. My name's John. I'm here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Hello.
And we're still waiting, Dan, for a goal.
Yeah.
2 games since we last spoke. A loss and a
games.
draw.
Yep.
You been to one of the games?
Yes.
I've been to none of them. I followed one on iFollow.
You mean followed or you watched?
Is there a difference?
What does follow mean?
You know, like...
Actually, following meant sort of like keeping up to date with like incidents and or kind of scores via some sort of text output.
Okay, then that's the internet provider for watching the games got the wrong name. It should be iWatch then, shouldn't it?
Yeah. Why are you telling me?
I support.
Start drafting that email.
I imbue the game.
Yeah. I imbibe the game.
I will send that email, but first of all, I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah. And I drank it in last night. £10 that cost.
Yep.
I mean, there was sort of, after every game, there's some lunatics that want to say things.
Yes.
We're like a bit, we are that. Too,
yes.
But other sort of variants of them. And then, they had all people like, hey, you should refund the travelling supporters. You always get them.
That
was
you
lose. They're saying like you want a refund just because one team did it once when they lost like 7-0.
I think it was 9-0, wasn't it? You got the refund.
Yeah. I'd rather get a refund for the Barrow.
Yeah.
Because that was like I was sat there. I was like, this is depressing. Flashback to like lockdown last year.
Yeah.
And I'm sat there again eating my tea, watching this pathetic match on a tiny little screen.
Yeah.
And thinking, oh, they got me again. Another tenner.
I mean, they really did. I mean, so to recap, listeners, if you missed it, City away at Leyton Orient came away 3-0 losers, and then away at Barrow came away with a point, 0-0. So
so we're now 3 league games into the 2021-22 season.
Yep.
We have scored 0.
Yep.
We have 2 points.
Yep.
And we've conceded 3 goals.
Yep. Struck by a bit of the COVID, as we said, so Sam Nombe's still not back. Hartridge back.
Yeah.
But only for the second game, only for the Barrow game.
Yeah. There's quite a few still missing as well out of regular injuries too, isn't there?
Collins can now run, apparently. Or
right.
jog lightly.
So let's start with the Orient game, shall we?
Oh, yeah, all right. You were there.
I was there, along with
your big day out.
I was there on my big day out with a lot of other Exeter fans, loads of them.
1,500, 1,600?
I don't know the figures.
Something
a lot,
like that.
Though. At the, I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah.
Bishop Brennan Park or something.
Sure.
And, yes, full of hope and expectation and thinking this will be... And then you see... I was in the pub before the match, as you sort of, as you kind of do. Weird one, really, because it's like kind of like, oh, this is the pub to kind of go to. It looked like a sort of cozy club. Do you mean like kind of like faux kind of like elegance and sort of like? But then there's all these kind of like big Exeter City fans in there, sort of.
You know what that is?
Chanting about Argyle.
Gentrification.
Yeah, so probably right. Anyway, and then you see the lineup and you see, oh, okay.
Seymour starting?
Well, it's not. I mean, that sounds bad, doesn't it? But that is what everyone's thinking. It's kind of collective groan, and you think, oh, he's just checked the lineup and he's seen who's up top. Because at that point, I didn't know for sure whether Nombe would be back or not. I mean, I don't know, but he wasn't, and so Seymour started. It's that same formation. So this is this formation that we've got this season.
Yeah. What are we calling it? 5-2-1-2? 5-2-2-1?
I think it's more of a 5-2-2-1.
Yeah.
I think probably that was the case in the Orient game. Perhaps I did kind of notice, we'll come on to it a bit in Barrow, maybe Brown is a bit further forward. But anyway, so this started with Seymour up top on his own.
Yeah.
Brown and Jay behind. I mean, a lineup you'd expect given the injuries that we've got.
Yeah.
And it didn't take long.
6 minutes, I believe.
6 minutes in. We just kind of looked switched off. All the goals we looked switched off for.
Yep.
First one especially, a bit of a high ball into the box. No one... I mean, given the fact that we're basically playing 2 defensive midfielders, there was nobody there to kind of like even contest a ball bouncing just outside the area. And then just in behind and then slotted it home easy. And then after that, we had a little spell for a minute without creating too much. Jack Sparks got on the ball a lot down the left-hand side.
Yeah.
And it looked like, okay, maybe he's going to get so many chances today to get the ball in, because he really looked like he had the right back's number for a minute. He thought maybe, he's going to get enough chances to cross it in that we'll get something, and they weren't all floating over the top. They were going, no, they weren't reaching Seymour quite, but they were getting there, and you thought, this is positive. This could happen, I mean, even though you're 1-0 down. Sometimes it's that early that you're like, all right, that's all right. That just gives us impetus. That just means we've got to be more on the front foot. Mm-hmm. But then they scored again.
So who are it was Dieng and Atangana, right?
Yeah.
Who'd looked good the game before.
Yeah, I don't think you get the impression that was never the plan to play those two together.
Okay. Because we're lacking Collins.
It would be Collins and one or the other.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay. And Hartridge wasn't there, was he? So it was Jonathan Grounds, centre back.
Jonathan Grounds. He got sent off towards the end.
Yes.
I didn't even notice, because I think by that point we were already 3-0 down. His second yellow. Do you know what? I kind of looked up as he was walking off down the tunnel, and I thought he'd shit himself or something, like we.
As is the fashion.
As is the Exeter City way.
Yes. When they talk about playing the city way, that's what that means.
So I kind of thought he would be coming back on.
Eat a breakfast burrito.
I didn't really realise till afterwards they were like, oh no, he got sent off. It's like, all right, okay, well he's out. Another one out for that. Also Jack Sparks.
Broken collarbone.
Broken his collarbone in 2 places. So he has to have surgery. Now, I've never broken my collarbone. My brother has a couple of times, and he didn't need surgery either time.
Yeah.
But it was bad. It was painful, and there's not much they can do about it, because you can't set it. You can't put it in a plaster, can you? Because it's like you're sort of the whole sort of like front of your body.
Listeners, for those who can't see this, Dan's currently caressing the front of his body. Yeah, it is there. Yeah, that's right.
So you kind of just got to keep it still for ages.
Yeah.
And if it's broken in 2 places, that means there's a floating bit, doesn't it?
I guess
it has to.
That's why there's surgery. Maybe the surgery means it'll be easier and quicker.
Well, maybe, but it's still a bone that's got to fuse itself back together.
Yeah, it's pretty horrible.
Yeah, unless they do it with little, wire or whatever they do, pipe cleaners.
Poor boy, and he was having a good game, wasn't he?
He was, and I'm kind of not so down as other people on Jack Sparks. I mean, I think, like we say, the criticisms are he's not the fastest, and his end product is, a bit hit and miss. But I think he's a good player in there, and it's very early days for him.
Yep.
And I think he's powerful, and I think he's tricky, and I think his end product is only going to improve, and it's a real shame, and we don't really have anyone to replace him, as was, shown in the Barrow game where we played Jake Caprice left wing back, clearly not his role.
No. So, I mean, that was it. There's not much else to say about that 3-0, is there? Pretty dire result.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, I mean,
it was mush from the start, there wasn't it?
All 3 of the goals, like I said, were all kind of all got in behind us. So we all switched off. We kind of seemed a little bit like we woke up and they were already in behind. We had a penalty, of course. Giovanni Brown threw on goal.
That was at 2-0, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So at 2-0, Giovanni Brown threw on goal. He kind of clips it up. He's probably not going to get it in anyway, but from that angle. But the keeper takes him out, rightly given. Matt J. I mean, it was coming, wasn't it? He was always going to miss one of those eventually.
Yeah.
He does the old kind of slow run up, waiting for the keeper to go, obviously, and then they know now, don't they? They just go. The minute you start doing that little jog, they go like, okay, he's waiting for me to go, and then he's going to side foot it one side or the other. So I'll just wait until he side foots it, and then I'll, So I think the game's up on that one, unless you're incredibly good at,
Yeah.
But Tisdale always used to say, didn't he, that Matt J was the most talented player in the squad or whatever,
Yeah.
And so I think that's why he thinks I can do these penalties like these kind of technical world-class players. And let's be honest, they fail at that level too. We all saw the England game.
Yeah.
But I mean, I know it sounds a bit kind of old-fashioned of me, but I just want someone to smack it every time there's a penalty. Just run up and smash it. And then if you miss, at least it's kind of like, oh, well, at least, I don't know. You look less stupid.
Yeah.
But it was kind of summed it up. And Matt J hasn't started this season well. I'm not convinced in that, and it's just frustrating because if he is in that 2 with Brown,
Yeah.
it's very much like Taylor has bought the players to play this new system that he wants to do. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which involves Matt Jay. But in a way, it's like last season, Matt Jay was your top scorer, top assister, player of the season. Why mess with it? Do you know what I mean? Why move him out of that? Because last season he played as a supporting kind of number 10 in the hole behind Bowman. No, I know Bowman's not there anymore, but like you surely, if anything, want to play to, you know, and you're not doing that, and I can't see it changing.
No, I think you're right that it's not going to change, and I think he's obviously taken the gamble, and I think probably he thought Nombe and Brown are the kind of players that in a sense I can get them, and obviously we've seen we can't really get many, but they were gettable, and I think there's signs that they're both really good players.
I think Brown's been the best player so far this season.
Yeah.
He looks really good, and he almost kind of looks like the rest of them aren't quite on the same page as him.
Yeah.
I mean? And so and Nombe, we've only seen him once, so who knows? But he looked, you know, he didn't get much service, but he looked decent. But I think now you've got Brown and Jay.
Yeah.
And I think, but there's quite a good argument that there's not space in that team for both of them unless you want to play one of them out. I don't know. Can Brown play out wide? I mean, Jay's never been that effective out when you push him out wide, I don't think. But
Brown's interesting, isn't he? He looks like he's got good control of the ball and he's got good ideas. But we haven't scored yet, so you know.
No,
but we haven't had Nombe yet.
But then,
hardly.
But then look who's around him. Do you mean you've got? He's a kind of player who's going to combine with other players. That's what you can see. So he's got to combine with Josh Key, who hasn't quite reached his kind of previous levels so far this season. But it's early. I don't know.
I'd give Jay a chance.
It's the Seymour situation now. Obviously, what happens with Ben Seymour? We've talked about it a lot of times. He's obviously the main thing people talk about on the internet. Yeah. But that's because he keeps playing and not scoring, you know?
Yeah. I tell you what else was significant about the Orient game was the new shirt, the third kit.
Oh, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I quite like it as well. I mean, compared to the other two, which I hate, I quite like it.
I like the other two, and I really like this one. I think this is the best of the bunch.
Do you?
Yeah. And it's got a kind of England 1990 away kit vibe.
Yeah, the shirt in itself is whatever's fine. But what I do like is this kind of like light blue top, navy blue shorts, light blue socks. It's a nice combination, looks cool.
Okay.
I'm into that. So especially from a distance, it looks good. I'm up close, who knows? And also it says carpet right on the front of it. So like, it's never going to look that good.
Okay. Yeah.
But
we won't see it very often, will we?
No, we won't. But I think it's probably... Well, unless the players really like it, maybe they'll prefer it to wearing that monstrosity of a grey and pink one. But I don't know. I think it looked cool. And that's probably that's on sale, I believe. Is it today in the little caravan in town they've got?
Or maybe from Saturday, from the caravan in town.
Oh, is it?
Don't know.
Well, no one's going to go into the caravan in town when they've got...
No, because the Facebook was saying, go to the caravan in town.
And then go to the ground.
People
aren't going to do that.
It depends where you live. You live the other end. I live the right end.
Yeah, stick it on. Yeah, but okay. Well, all the people who drive to the game, they're not going to drive in, park, walk.
Presumably, they're also selling it in the club shop.
Right. Okay.
Who knows?
I don't know. Put it on sale the day before.
I think I'm going to buy it.
Are you now? I probably won't, but not only because it's just like what am I going to do with it?
Yeah. So that was that 3-0, and disappointing to take that good an away. I mean, brilliant. Hats off to everyone who went. That's a really good turnout for an away game. I think that really shows that it's not that we don't have good travelling support. We always know that we do. But if those games are achievable, because, there is a real difference. It's not just about the distance. We know that London is technically as far away as Manchester, but it's much more affordable. There's way more options for getting there. Exeter City's got really good travelling support. It's got really good home support as well. And
yeah, I mean, you take into other things. It's summer. It's summer holidays. It's it's the first away game you've been allowed to go to.
Yeah.
So there would have been some people who won't go to many more, but it was brilliant. And it does show that it can be done.
Yeah. So yeah, good to see. Disappointing with the result. Then we come to Tuesday night, a place that is, As inaccessible as London is accessible. Barrow on Furness,
Yeah, but I mean, given that, quite a lot of them there, wasn't there? Well,
170 something.
yeah, it's mad that.
Amazing. Hats off if you went. Hope it wasn't too.
I saw some things. People leaving at 6 a.m., getting back at 4 a.m.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah,
Fair
well
play. Flipping nightmare that.
Yeah.
And it was hardly. I mean, what a ground, but also loads of you were out in the rain as well, which maybe you liked, but
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure that you could. I mean, the way it's kind of framed, and in a way, is like we can't possibly expect anything out of an away trip to Barrow. If that was true, Barrow would have won the league.
yep,
Do you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
teams do go there and win, and much as like the weather's bad, it gets a lot worse than that.
Yep.
When you're playing there on a Tuesday night in, February, which
Yep.
some teams will be,
Yeah.
then maybe you've got a bit more of a case. Do you know what I mean? It's not impossible. We lost there last year. Lots of teams didn't.
Yep.
Do you know what I
Absolutely.
mean? So I get it that it's difficult conditions and it's windy and all this and stuff, but I don't really think that I think it's a bit convenient, really, considering we haven't been playing very well. And no one played very well last night. Us or Barrow. It was dire.
Was it one City shot on target, I think?
I think it was Ben Seymour, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in fairness to him, he looked the liveliest second half.
Yeah.
So
I think
Ammon started, didn't
most
he?
of the problem is so Ammon looked as unlikely to score as Ben Seymour did in the first, judging from the first portion that he started.
Yeah.
Seymour started the Leyton Orient game. Ammon started the Barrow game. Both of them, for their spell on the pitch, looked just as unlikely to score. It's because they're not getting any service.
No.
We're playing 5 at the back, and it is very much 5 at the back. Do you know what I mean? We've got Key and Caprice this time, and Sparks before. At least Sparks, in the Orient game, we tried to get forward a bit, and then we were exposed. They got in behind Josh Key for the one of the goals, second or the third goal. And so what does that mean? Does that mean then for the Barrow game, Taylor says, right, stay back then. Don't bother trying to get forward, because that's what it looked like. And then it looked like, what we're doing then is we're just hoofing it up to Amond. What is he supposed to do with that? There's a couple of times when he nearly did do something with it.
Yeah.
Just, a yard quicker, and he caught it on his toe one time and the ball over the top. But it's hoofing.
No, I agree entirely. And I think it suggests to me that without that dynamic attacking midfielder and without all that space of what am I saying here? I think if you don't know what Jay and Brown are doing that isn't very far advanced, and if you don't know what your defensive midfielders are tasked with doing about getting the ball forward, then you're always going to ask an awful lot of the two wing-backs. Like, they're being asked to do everything there, aren't they? They're being asked to gather the ball, because our passing is not very good from the back. And I know Sweeney can play a good pass, but, realistically, if the team's sitting deep, you're very unlikely to get it to your wing-backs from there. You're very unlikely to get it to Jay or Brown from there. So then Key or whoever is being asked to come deep, get the ball, go with the ball 50 yards, and then make the good cross, beating probably realistically 2 people on their own side before having to then get the cross into a significant place. That's an awful lot asked on him. I mean, Jake Caprice clearly didn't trust his left foot at all. That's not his fault. That's not his side. But then you're like, what, is this all on Josh Key?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you've got Matt Jay kind of dropping, especially the Orient game, dropping into his own half a lot of the time. And when he picks up the ball in his own half, then what? Yeah. Then who's ahead of him? And I think we're really, and obviously this is all very much based on the fact that we are missing players. Do you know what I mean? But I still think even with Collins back in there, Kite I think has deputised well when he came in for Collins. He's a similar kind of player, very neat and tidy. But he's not. He doesn't look like this kind of like creative midfielder, which is what we're crying out for. Yeah. It's Nicky Law, isn't it? You need.
Yeah.
Or it's Harley. In that situation.
Yeah.
Or we readjust to the last season's formation. The goals came from doubling up on wide players. Essentially, you'd have fullbacks that got forward.
Yeah.
But then also on the same side, they'd have Joel Randall Randall Williams or whoever in front of them to double up and work that way, and then Jay in the middle there. But I mean,
the obvious solution seems to me to be, given that Sparks is out, is that Sweeney goes to left back, which I know has its own problems. Key stays at right back. You have Hartridge and Ray in the centre, and then Brown or Jay.
Well, yeah, or even
winger.
Hartridge plays left back because he's at least left-footed.
Yeah,
and he has done it.
Or that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if Taylor doesn't want to. It doesn't seem like he wants to play 4 at the back. He seems like we saw when we went to that Weymouth game.
Yeah,
it was an identical system, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and this seems like a new idea, and we bought around this idea, and then this is what it's going to be. But I mean, how long do you give it? Because you literally can't see how we would score a goal in this system unless we bring in some real talent and add it into that mix, and then maybe the system starts to work. But there needs to be somebody in there kind of pulling the strings and making this happen. And then you think, well, who drops out, Do you drop Dieng? Do you drop Collins? Do you drop Matt J? Who do you drop in?
I mean, our other problem is Taylor's not a user of substitutes, is he? So... Well,
I mean, good thing too.
I know he ain't got any.
Yeah.
But what comes first? Is it the horse or the cart here?
Do you know what? I say we haven't got any. Callum Rowe came on for Jack Sparks when he got injured in that wing back role, and I thought he looked good.
Okay.
Definitely promising.
Okay.
It's based on 20 minutes or whatever, but he's young, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then there's no one else. Unless you change the system or you put someone right-footed there or something.
Yeah.
And then there's this question of where does. Yeah, well, we'll get onto these things.
I just feel like, if Taylor was the man who was like, well, I've got 3 substitutes here, and this squad here, the starting lineup gets 50 minutes, and then I know that past 50 minutes I'm looking to make the change. Then I don't think Jay or Brown or Dieng or Collins, at least then they think, right, well, I'm getting 40 minutes. I know the manager's going to use me. I know that, because you feel like with Taylor, you must feel like as a player, if you're not starting that game, you're only getting 5 minutes. Injuries. Ben Seymour, case in point. Like, he trusts him enough to start a game, but he doesn't trust him enough to give him 20 minutes at the end of a game. Like, either don't use Seymour at all, either you just don't think he's up to it, and therefore you need new players, or give him a proper amount of time.
Yeah.
Because
How long did he get last night? 10 minutes or something, was it?
No, last night was a bit better, I suppose.
Okay.
But in general terms, we haven't seen from Matt Taylor anything. And I just think that affects our recruitment and our operating of systems. If he's like, okay, we'll try it 5 at the back.
Well, people coming in who might think, strikers might quite rightly think, I don't know, look who played for them last season. Bowman was a striker. On the bench, they got this Seymour, and then they got Alex Fisher.
Yeah.
They look at how many minutes Fisher played,
yep,
and they'll think, well, I don't want to be that guy.
No. And we're desperate for a forward player. And that's not because I don't think Nombe might be really good. I really think he could be. But he's got COVID, so that's him out for 3 games. And then, you do something else, just a slight tweak. Then it's back to Seymour again, who's had no faith put in him.
Well, remember, I've got him on too.
Yeah, okay.
But
That's
I
true.
think we still need. I still think we need one more.
I think we definitely need one more.
It's because it's not just for if someone gets injured, which obviously can and almost certainly will happen. It's also that you might need different options, and you need to be able to adapt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I don't think we're in much of a position to do that at the moment. Who knows? I don't know much about Brown. I don't know if he can play as a second striker. Like I said, it looked like he's playing a little bit closer to Amond like last night to me, but I don't know. I still think it'd be a good idea. What I'm interested in this system is, where does Josh Coley fit into this?
Because he's a left-sided attacking player, right?
Yeah, but are we playing? Are we doing that at the minute? Does he come in for Jay or Brown, or is he going to play at the wing back? We're not playing a wide man. On
last year's system, when there was rumours of Randall going, Joel Randall.
Yeah.
You think, okay, that's
exactly. Yeah,
and then
it fits into last season's system. Yeah, but I don't know.
I would have thought. At 2-0 down at Orient.
Are we ever going to see him? Because is he another Sam Stubbs?
Sam Stubbs. I mean, I'm assuming,
or a Jose even.
Given how well catered for we are at centre back, I'm assuming they don't think Sam Stubbs will appear anytime soon.
Yeah, but are we well catered for? You're talking about like Jonathan Grounds. He's like,
All right, yeah.
he looks okay, but
No, he doesn't look okay. He looks.
no, okay, I'm being kind. He's got sent off, and fair enough. Other than that, he's got a couple of clean sheets under his belt, and he hasn't looked awful. But it's a bit like McArdle, isn't it? Last season, you think, okay, like look at this. Obviously at one point this was a seriously good player, but that you can tell that their career is on the wane.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and so I don't think we're well catered for at centre back, but I think given every other position kind of covering, we're best covered at the back, which makes me think that Taylor would think, yeah, that's fine. Which makes me think he doesn't think Stubbs is coming back because we've got X number of players there.
Not. On the subject of centre backs,
yes,
there was a little post-match interview with Alex Hartridge. Did you see this?
No.
After last night's game.
By the way, he's gone for the old hairband now, hasn't he?
Yeah, because he's got long hair.
Yeah,
That's fair enough. That'd be good in his eyes. But I said before, based on kind of nothing apart from his face, that I wouldn't. He's the sort of lad that I wouldn't mind my daughter going out with if I had one.
Oh yeah,
which I don't. And after seeing that interview, I very much stand by it. She can go out with him. He seems like an absolute delight.
Does he?
Lovely young man. Yeah, very nice. And doesn't sort of seems like that's not what footballers are like. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Almost like kind of I'm not comparing him to Milner, but a bit like that kind of.
Okay.
Do you know what I mean? How Milner's a kind of like anti-modern footballer in kind of personality-wise. Do you mean?
That's Hartridge.
That's what he seems like to me. Like it doesn't seem like he's coming back from like pre-season with how lads these days have like their teeth white until they're basically blue.
Yeah.
I can't see him doing that, but I can't say that for all the youngsters in the squad.
Some of that squad would like a Bluetooth, and we're not talking
maybe that's
about.
where it comes from. Maybe that's
Yeah, do you think they've misunderstood?
Yeah.
Has your phone got Bluetooth?
Have you got
No,
Bluetooth?
but my face.
Yeah,
has.
no, I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm off to Greece next week.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just my observation about Hartridge.
Good observation. More of that kind of hard-hitting journalism in a minute. Welcome back to Newsnight, Crime Watch, whatever you want to call it. Did you see the players having to sing a song to the squad on their while they were getting ready to play against Orient? So the Friday night at the hotel.
No, Exeter players.
No,
I didn't see this.
Namely Dawson and Amond.
Right, so it's the initiations, is it? That kind of thing. Right.
Point number one.
Where's this happening?
In a lounge of a travel tavern.
No, I know. How are you seeing it?
Instagram.
You
got to follow him on Instagram. You get all the stuff.
Yeah.
You get all the absolute nonsense.
I think I only follow. The only player I follow is Jake Taylor. I don't even play for Exeter
No, he doesn't.
anymore.
He was good for the Instagram insights, but these lot are better.
Right. Okay. I'll unfollow him and I'll get
Coley, Rowe, Dawson, Amon. They've all got him.
Okay. I always find it a bit.
Seymour.
I find it a bit strange.
It's really strange.
Following kind of lads who are half my age.
It's really strange, but
maybe I'll do it for work.
Do it for work.
If anyone asks, it's for work.
Yeah, which is true.
Okay.
Here's what you would have seen. Point number one: it did not look fun, or raucous, or anything.
Right. Okay.
It looked like Matt Taylor's gone all right now, lads. Point C of our meeting today. Stop the ball going in the goal. Point 4, Cameron Dawson's going to sing us a song. That's what it looked like. Okay. And then Dawson...
A bit late in it. Did you do that immediately? Dawson sort of played about 4 games.
Yeah, a bit late. I can't remember which way round it was. One of them did Angels, and one of them did I don't know, some absolute nonsense pop song.
Brilliant.
Amond, obviously feeling uncomfortable. They both looked incredibly uncomfortable, right?
Yeah, well, that's the idea.
That's the idea. Amond used an upturned plastic cup from a water dispenser as his microphone, right?
Right.
Obviously, it doesn't look anything like a microphone. He's holding it at the underside of the rim, upside down.
It's a crutch, isn't it?
It's a crutch.
Yeah.
And he did his song. I think he was Angels. I can't remember. Dear me,
My brother told me the once that he was at a karaoke night and someone did Angels by Robbie Williams, and obviously there's a big, it's quite a song vocally, and the bit where he hits that high note, this guy sort of apparently went and threw it Oh. He went the octave below.
Yeah, sure.
To avoid the kind of thing.
Yeah.
I know,
Well, Amon didn't do that. He went for it.
went for it, did he? Yeah.
But kind of in a lackluster way. So it wasn't like, through it all! It was none of that. It was like,
Right.
through it all, she offered me protection.
Oh, right. Okay, he's gone
Yeah.
sort of falsetto, has he?
Yeah. Look it up. I don't know, it's probably gone now. It was an Instagram story, so maybe you can't look it up. But, yeah, poor old lads. I felt bad for him.
What's the other song? Sorry. So.
I can't. What was it? One of those nonsense ones, modern day acoustic rock.
Ed Sheeran.
Something like that.
Right.
Something like
Whatever
that.
his name is.
Yeah, that is his name. Ipswich Town sponsor Ed Sheeran.
He doesn't sponsor them, does he?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they've got on the front of their shirt.
Yeah.
Oh, I apologise, Carpet Right. It could be a
Yeah.
lot worse.
Could be a lot worse.
Who could we have from around here? Coldplay.
It could just say bottom for Aid Edmondson.
Oh, I see. Right.
That'd
yeah.
be worse, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
You could have, you could have Coldplay. But of course,
News.
that would be better, wouldn't it, for Torquay? Because of course, yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who else could we have? Like
I don't know who else is from Exeter that's done well.
Richard Hooker, the theologian. You're probably not going to get him, are you?
That's the matey from Cathedral Green, isn't
Mate
it?
from Cathedral Green.
What about that kid with dreads who was on? I don't know, one
Luke
of those things.
thingy.
Give him a voice. What's it called?
The
Britain's
Voice?
Got Talent.
Britain's got to give him a voice. That's something else. Yeah.
Him?
Yeah, him. Joss Stone, of course.
Yeah, Stone.
Stone.
These are all quite old, aren't they? Has anyone not done anything recently?
Glenn off Great British Bake Off used to live down our road.
One of the Love Island people or something. I mean, I've never seen a second of Love Island.
Okay.
I just want to put that out there.
Dan's
But
whole life is like Love Island.
I know. Why bother watching it? I'm already living it.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. It
Anyway.
doesn't matter. We've got Carpet Right now. They're signed on for at least another year. So.
I honestly, I don't mind it. I know it's a bit like, carpet, but
Oh yeah,
Our league
we've
is
seen,
full of
we've
absolute
seen a lot
madness, isn't
worse,
it?
haven't we? So I mean, you kind of like think, okay, no, fine, got away with it. I got away with it with Carpet Right.
yes. Now, talking of embarrassments, talking of absolute cretinous embarrassments, Joey Barton's coming to town on Saturday.
Oh yeah, he is, isn't he? Oh, so the goons continue.
Yeah. So we've had Ainsworth,
But Ainsworth,
we've had Derek Adams, and now we've got King Goon himself, Barton.
Yeah.
And in fairness to Adams and Ainsworth, they're not criminals.
No, Joey Barton,
What's he done?
Kierkegaard in one hand, punching his wife in the face with the other.
Yeah.
No, well, all charges have been dropped.
Kicked her in the... Oh, no, it was Giggs that kicked his girlfriend in the back, wasn't it? What's the matter
Yeah.
with these people? Anyway, he's
all sorts.
coming, and they're having a bad season so far.
I think, in case he gets the old lawyers on us, we have to say that he was, I think all charges were dropped, or she didn't press charges, his wife, but there was some allegations that he'd hurt her. So, but anyway, he's still the manager.
I mean, he was a controversial choice at the start.
They're happy with having him there. They got rid of Tisdale and got in Joey Barton.
That's quite a change, isn't it?
You've got to question the decision making there. And I'd rather have Tisdale losing every game, not answering any of the questions, going on about body language, standing in front of a mahogany bookcase.
Yeah.
Any day.
Yeah.
Rather than Barton anywhere near my football club.
Indeed.
And I'm glad we don't.
I did absolutely agree.
But we have got to entertain him and his underwhelming.
They won last night, didn't they?
Bristol side. Yeah, they did win last night. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a bit depressing looking at the table. We're in 20th with 2 points. They're in 15th with 3 points. Well, you can say what you want about that. But kind of significantly on the pitch, they've got Brett Pittman.
Oh, yeah.
I mean...
Portsmouth fella.
Yeah, good at Portsmouth. I think he was at Swindon last year.
Was he?
Think so.
Right.
Not the player he was.
Yeah.
It's not quite Clinton Morrison. It's more like when we got Robbie Simpson, I suppose.
Right.
You know,
It's a bit like when we got Podrick Amond.
Yeah. I think Amond will be all right for us,
Yeah, me too. He's looked. If he can get the service, our problem isn't. I don't think our problem is him. I think our problem is getting the ball to him.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was their first. Yeah. They'd lost their first 2.
Right.
So that's their first win. 1-0 against Oldham, who also aren't having the best of starts. So I don't know. But
First time we played Bristol, either Bristol side in ages, isn't it?
well, it would have been Bristol Rovers, 5-6 years ago, I suppose.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Um,
Was that when we were up there, or were they back here?
oh, that's a good question.
I think that was when we were in League One.
Yeah, I think it probably was as well. I think Nombe's back. If it was Corona and if it was only the positive test and not the actual being really poorly,
Well, that's the thing. I kind of thought he'd be back already.
Well, I
but
think-
maybe he just hadn't trained or something.
and maybe the Hartridge. Well, he was at home definitely. Instagram also told me this.
Right,
He
okay.
was watching it at home. I don't know where he lives. I don't know if he's moved to Exeter or if he still lives in the Midlands or whatever. But I think if you do the maths, if Hartridge got it first, the positive test, then Nombe got it after, which means he should be right for Bristol Rovers.
Okay. Hopefully he hasn't got any kind of.
Hopefully he's not poorly.
Or like, yeah.
There's been no mention of anything really, and this comes back to a previous point that we've made before. And I know there's the fans forum, but it'd be quite nice to see some independent journalists getting a go at Matt Taylor.
Well, there is the guy from Devon Live, and at least he does ask about the injury.
And is that the Zoom videos we see?
I don't know. I think I've only ever seen the written up report. It's Daniel Clark. Whoever
Yeah.
Is that his name?
So he gets to speak to him.
So he does ask
Okay.
him about like the injury. So I think he was the last person to ask about Stubbs. And I mean, it's not exactly, holding him to task.
Well,
kind of like
Obviously, he's got to maintain a relationship with
he's
him,
not Beth
hasn't he?
Rigby.
No. No, good, good reference.
He's more Laura Koonsberg.
Yes, sat on a bench with Matt Taylor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, Clark, you're right. He does an okay job, but
Well, I mean, if left to the club to do, they don't ask him anything he doesn't want to be asked. So
no.
which why would he? He's the manager.
Yeah.
Why would he sign off on that? So yeah, of course, I'm not blaming them for that. Why would you? But yeah, I mean, I would like to see these questions asked. We spent the last 2 years wishing someone would ask him where on earth the Jose was.
Yeah.
And people, like here and there, they'd kind of eventually bow to the pressure and go like, Jose, and Taylor go like, say something about him, like
About his knees or his AstroTurf or
yeah,
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so is this a I can't remember. Honestly, I struggle to remember pre-pandemic, but I think
All of life.
basically, yeah, I can't remember what it's like. But
We were allowed to hold each other. We were never not embracing.
oh yeah, that's right. Just hugging all the time. But
Coughing in each other's eyes.
there should be scope at the end of the game to be like, Matt, what are you going to do about this? This clearly isn't working. And, have the opportunity to kind of push. Because I think previously we would expect to see interviews after the game that weren't just run by the in-house media.
I can't remember that either. I don't know. Did that happen?
Well, it definitely should be able to happen. Now, I realise Devon Live might not be fully resourced, and I realise BBC Spotlight isn't either, but there should be scope for, like, that kind of thing. And I'm pretty sure at the moment, the club media just handle...
They definitely do the kind of like,
And
I
then
think
give out the
Devon Live
video.
get the kind of later on
Yeah.
conference, that's when they come back. The immediate one is always just the club guys, isn't it? And I'm not criticizing them. Like they do their job. Do you mean blah blah? I mean, occasionally this like anything. There's occasionally there's things you see like, oh, well, I mean, that's not how I would have done that. Certain kind of slightly outdated comments on Twitter or something like that. Do you mean occasionally? But I kind of think, whatever. Maybe like can't expect people to kind of always be on the same page with those kind of things.
I just
think
feel like...
I wasn't going to bring this up, but I mean, describing stuff as like handbags on the pitch is a kind of like, I didn't really think we were doing that anymore in this day and age.
Yeah.
Same as the Devon Live commentator last night describing the lines, the referee's assistant as the lady assistant. Do you mean? I mean, like,
We can do
what
better than that,
year
can't
is
we?
it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think my bigger question really is that there's, on one hand, we've been told by the club, we've got this Project 6,000 thing, which we haven't really talked about, but essentially is...
I don't really know what it is.
It's essentially, if we can get 6,000 regular attendees at home matches, that gives us the financial impetus to be able to push for permanent League One football. Right, that's the idea. So 1,000 extra, paying £20 a week, £20 a fortnight, means that we can then invest in the team enough to be able to.
Well, it's quite simple.
I would say it's quite simple.
You can't just expect to go, oh, we've got chunk pasties and we've got a big electronic scoreboard advertising stuff that you do not want or need to you, and then that's the reason we're expecting you to come to the games. If it's crap on the pitch, no one will come.
Yeah.
You know, the worse it gets, the lower the attendance is. And we see this as it goes on. If we keep not scoring, that's how you get Project 2000, you know?
Yeah, the less talked about project. I'm not having a go at Matt Taylor here. I'm not. I think being a manager is a really difficult job.
And you've got to do what you got to do. Do you
Yes.
I mean, you can't just go like, oh, the fans demand tiki taka, you know, like
no.
Again, what year is it? But like, you know, but you've got to give people a reason to come along. Do you mean?
Yeah, and I think we talked about this last season. The narrative of the club for a really long time was just, this is, you know, it's just your local club, you know,
But that's because we were such a mess, off the field.
Yeah,
and it needed completely rebuilding from the ground up.
Done all that rebuilding, and then Tisdale was part of that. Like it or lump it, him achieving that was massive.
If we're now at the point where when we're talking about chunk pasties and electronic scoreboards, I think we've probably come far enough.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you stop the progress there, but you think, okay, that's sorted.
Yeah,
in a roundabout way.
Yeah,
let's keep doing stuff, but you know, the emphasis needs to be now on kind of like being good at football and getting out of League One, League Two, sort of. And that, I mean, if that means kind of like, where's all the money?
Where's the money?
I'm not going down this kind of like all these directors. I mean, but in a way, like, what is it with these directors?
Well, it'd be interesting to see. I don't think they're paid directors, are they? I think they get expenses, and they've been brought in specifically to boost the club.
Whatever they're doing, I do think it's a bad look when they make up the front line of the team photo.
Yeah.
Why are they in it? I can just about understand Tag being in the team photo. He's been such a big part of the club. Whatever, people will kind of expect him to be there. Think back to your bedroom walls in the 90s when you're putting your team photos out on the thing.
Yeah.
Was there ever, the front row, a bunch of people in suits who you've never seen before?
No.
And you're going like, oh, Mum, I want to be like this guy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
No, what are they doing in it?
It makes no sense.
You know, like, and I think that's what, and like, I know in reality, there's no big conspiracy and they're just all doing a job to help the club. Do you know what I mean? But you're making people wonder, and when you kind of present yourself as this fan-owned club, and that's like the one side of it, and then you've got this other thing, and you've got who are these people?
Yeah.
And then people are going to ask, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? And if it's not clear, then you're going to get people coming up with their own ideas.
I think that's absolutely right. And I think, by all means, have a photo taken with the directors. We don't need to see that. That shouldn't be for our eyes, right? That should be for their office.
Not the official club team photo.
And if we want to tell them... Because I think the narrative of the club is the people of this city, despite the best efforts of idiots from outside, have made a football club that's sustainable. And I think about poor old John Lee that died last week, was it 2 weeks ago? And who was at the game at the Wickham game.
Yeah.
Put her in the team photo. She's the story. Like, she's what's made it. And I know Julian Tagg's that as well, but we see him a lot. We don't need to see those directors. You're absolutely right. And then do us the favour, really, of not insulting us by thinking we'll be satisfied with the scoreboard.
Yeah,
like,
I think you kind of they haven't learnt lessons from how it all went wrong with Paul Tisdale.
No,
do you mean this was because of this kind of like disconnect between the supporters and the club, or the trust and the club? Do you mean, and there being this kind of like battling, kind of like two-headed hydra, you know, and almost perhaps a bit over the top, but like, you know what I mean? Like it was kind of like, it creates this kind of weird when things go wrong, or when things even aren't going that wrong, we've just 3 games in and we haven't managed to score yet. I mean, I'm not even worried particularly about not massively. It's way too early to draw any kind of conclusions. But it's just like when things go, that's when people are going to start looking and going like, this is weird, or this is, you know.
Yeah. And Taylor obviously definitely wishes he'd never said the word marquee.
Yeah.
Presumably. I would certainly wish it undone if I was him. You could say.
I mean, difference makers is open to interpretation, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's definitely different.
You could say, couldn't you? Look, our academy's surpassed all expectations, and we're amazed. And actually, we think Harry Kite is good enough. We're putting him in the first team. And so we're spending all our money on Sam Nombe and Giovanni Brown, and we'll buy one other, whoever, George Ray. We think those 3 players are good enough to support what we already have. And that will be our pattern going forward. And I think some people would still moan and be like, we want 10, 11 new players that are trusted at League 2 level. I would think, yeah, fair enough. I would think that's good. Like, I see that worked last season. It's going to work this season. But when we hear the figures, because we know that Joel Randall has earned us £1 million, and we know that Ollie Watkins, Sam Nombe and Giovanni Brown and George Ray have not cost £1 million. They've cost nowhere near. I'd be very surprised if they've cost £100,000 between them, and then their wages, which definitely won't be any higher between them than Taylor and Bowman and Randall. So we're not daft, and let's not pretend that we're daft. And just be a bit more aware of what we're doing.
It's just a little bit kind of like mixed messages, isn't it?
Yeah,
I mean, on the one time you go like, we've got this money, and then you haven't and then you say, and then the next interview is, we haven't really got any money.
Yeah.
And, like we're all kind of like clever. The supporters are intelligent enough to know that there's other things that besides the playing staff that cost money, and then and then it might be the like improvements need to be made elsewhere and blah blah blah, and these things, and that money's gone, or that it's earmarked, or that there's reasons why it can't go into the playing budget, whatever. But at least kind of allude to that, rather than just sort of 1 minute saying we're minted and the next minute saying we're skin.
Yeah, that's right. And if they said actually we're investing in the training ground, which means that we'll go from category 3 to category 2. I think I got my numbers right there. And so that will produce the next Cresceni, the next Hartridge, and therefore our accountant tells us that will be 5 million in the bank in 10 years. We think, like, okay, fair enough.
But the thing is, that's already happening, isn't it? I mean, even at the category we're at, it's generating, how much more money could it generate? Like, they're not going to, I mean, I guess a bit more. It's already doing pretty well. People have been saying for years, we can't rely on the academy, it will dry up eventually, and yet they keep on coming.
Yeah, amazing. But I just think, because the squad looks threadbare, and that's not to do with the injuries. It looked threadbare before.
We had loads of players left.
And not many came in.
No, and we already, by the end of last season, were looking like a bit of a thin squad. We were using a lot of young players. It was the COVID year.
Yeah.
We all accepted, okay, COVID year, we're going to have to use the academy.
Yeah.
This year, we were kind of like getting back to a semblance of normality, or we're heading that direction. That's the assumption. And we should be basing it on the season before.
Yeah.
We haven't got enough depth, clearly, because we two or three injuries and someone out with COVID, and suddenly we're like, oh, we're playing Jake Caprice at left back.
The kind of thing Taylor was saying before last night.
And Nigel's the main man.
Yeah. The thing he was saying was basically the kind of thing you expect to hear in March, of like, I'm down to 3, when it's been absolute chaos and we're in August, the window's not even closed yet.
No.
I mean, I would expect that if we wanted to survive this season, I don't mean in the league, I don't think we're getting relegated, but if we wanted to survive at our previous levels, we've got to bring in 5 players. Honestly, I don't think that's an exaggeration.
For depth, yeah. To have a kind of like rounded enough squad. I mean, to compete. To be honest, personally, I can't see us competing.
No, I can't either. Because I don't think we're bringing in those players.
And I think we're probably going to bring in 1.
Yeah.
That's my. I mean, it's pessimistic, but I think that's probably what happens. We bring in 1 player, maybe 2, and there'll be loans, or there'll be old blokes out of contract, who haven't managed to find a move somewhere else.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of reasons, isn't there? And geographic and COVID and whatever. But you do kind of wonder when, I don't know, I wouldn't blame it all on kind of like before I would think, okay, we had Perryman before and he's out there schmoozing, like King Schmooze, just like he knows everybody, getting like, and now we don't have him. But Taylor's managed to recruit in the past. I mean, like we got Nicky Law in, we got Randall Williams to come here, we brought in loan players from other places, Dara O'Shea, whatever. I can't remember who quite when Tisdale left. And
No, but there's loads of examples. I mean, even this season, we've managed. It's not like no one will come and join us. We've got, from what I can see, 3 really good players: Nombe, Brown, Ray. Those all happened quite early on. Like, it's not. It seems like we've just stopped. We've gone like, oh well. And you think, that's not good enough, and that's not going to help. And again, they've built this rod for their own back with this 6,000 thing. Like, the two things don't match up exactly like we've said. Anyway, whatever. We'll see. I mean, of course, all this might be turned around. If on Saturday we win 3-0 and Nombe's back and it's...
As usual, I mean, but you've got to talk about something, haven't we?
Yeah, I just think that the way it looks at the minute, I think you're right. I don't think we'll make loads of signings. I don't think it's going to get better, actually.
Do we look stronger than we did at the beginning of last season as a squad?
No.
I know that some of the players are unknown quantities and maybe they're amazing, but I don't think we do.
No.
Even in terms, you look at it being like experience, potential of the youngsters, I think we look weaker.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Anyway, that's enough pessimism for today, listeners.
Let's have a lovely little goal, can we? Let's stick it in Joey Barton's stupid face, and then we can talk about some nice things next week.
That'd be marvellous. If you can make that happen, please, Sam Nombe, that would be marvellous. Love for him to get that hat trick on Saturday.
Oh, yeah.
What a ding-dong do.
All right. Heart trick at the back stick, please.
Oh, yeah. Wow, just get a few goals, share them round. Thanks for listening. You can get in touch with us in all the normal ways. We're on Twitter @BigBankPod. We're on email, bigbankpod@gmail.com, and we're on Facebook as well with the Big Bank Theory podcast.
Yeah, tell your friends about it if you think they might like it, and if you don't.
Leave a review, that always helps, I think. And yeah, tell your pals. My name's John, I've been here with my friend and colleague Dan.
Cheers.
See you soon.